Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Angelova, and I'm here to challenge everything you have been told about aging and wellness. This podcast is for those who refuse to accept that growing old means growing unhealthy. Each week, I will bring you dynamic conversations with inspirational guests, sharing practical advice, insights, and motivation to live your life rebelliously as you age with grace and vitality. This is your time to embrace self-care, transformation, and an infectious spirit that says no to the conventional and yes to a vibrant, powerful life. Let's dive in and redefine what it means to live well. Hi, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And today we have a very special guest, Paula Singer from Rasmussen University. Hello, Paula. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Maria?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for finding time to be here with us today. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, to be inspired by a powerhouse like you. So having made it to the top ranks of higher education, and I love about you when I was reading about you is how you challenged the status quo, and I was like, oh, Aribelia is so right there. We need to get her on the podcast.
A little rebellious.
Just a little, yes, I love that. So Paula, let's dive right in. Give us 3 words that tell us who is Paula, and maybe a little bit of a backstory behind each word.
Sure. I think the first word that I'd have to use is tenacious. That I can say when I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to get it done. And one of the things I know is I'll be at the finish line if I decide something's worthy of really putting my effort into. So tenacious would be number 1. Number 2 would be independent. I have to say that I'd sum that up by saying, I trust my own judgment more than I trust the voices from outside. I want to do my homework. I want to know the facts. I want to get input, but then I'm going to trust my own judgment more than I'm going to trust what the world is saying to me. I think it's very important. And then the last one I'd say is advocate. One of the things that I love to do, and I think it's because of my education background, is that really seeing other people and their potential and advocating for that individual to reach their full potential. I'm not really talking about advocating for really big causes, but I think on a day-to-day basis, if you're working with, in my case, with faculty or employees or students, what you want them to do is believe in themselves and advocate for themselves. And I think that's a place where I get real pleasure, particularly our students who might be first generation students coming to higher ed, where there's a lot of challenges. They need someone who is there behind them advocating for them.
Can see their potential. I love that. Right. And you said a couple of brilliant things that I have so many questions. Let's start with the independence piece, because you mentioned something very important. You said, I listen to my own voice versus the voice of those around me. And I think that is such a powerful place to be. And it's a place of, I would say, discomfort. I don't know if you agree with me, because we are so heavily influenced by so many opinions, by, nowadays, social media, everybody has an opinion. And it is a place of power, of empowerment to stand into believing into what you think is right, the right thing to do, right? Can you tell a bit about that and how that has helped you climb up the ranks of higher education to becoming a president of a university?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, particularly women, kind of doubt their voice or put their voice second, and we've been trained a little bit that way. But I've really had a lot of practice in listening to my voice in different settings. Let me give you an example. So when I was young, so you can tell I come by this early, I had a situation where I had a job for the town. That job got taken away because the new mayor of the town put their cronies in to that particular job. I was 16 at the time. And the voices around me said, let it go get another job. My parents included, saying, you can't fight City Hall. And I thought that was ridiculous. This was wrong. I had a good performance and I had learned this. Anyway, I took it to City Hall and I got my job back. And so I think sometimes, exercising that was hard. It was difficult to go there, but I thought, wow, this is the wrong thing that's going on, and somebody's got to stand up to it. So I'm going to do that. So practicing that very young, and then of course, I was an executive in the early 80s, right? Before women had a lot more protections in the United States, at least, that we have currently. And so in that job, I was, paid 60% of what the men made in an equal position. By the way, I had an assistant that I could only have part-time because I was told women can type and file themselves. They don't need to have a full-time executive assistant. It gives you a sense of what's going on. And what you had to do was to be independent and hear your voice and be tenacious and say, well, these things are wrong. And they may be impacting me, but I'm going to find a way to make sure the next person coming through doesn't have to face that. So I think taking the opportunities, having a really good sense of who you are and what you believe in helps you to make sure that voice is heard. Because if you don't do it, someone else might not do it. You've got to have that sense of obligation.
And I definitely, this relates to something else that I firmly believe, Paula, and that is that when we stand into our truth, when we listen to our own voice, despite the discomfort, right, despite what your parents might say, your spouse, your coworkers, whoever, your boss, society might say, right, we lead the way, not only for ourselves. I mean, before the recording started, we talked a little bit about that. We create a path for others. That's right. Like, okay, I can do a little bit of that too. It's not that scary. It's a little bit less scary. It's almost like you give others permission. And when we grow, we serve from a different place where we open the opportunities for others. And I'm so glad that you said that, because especially through I'll tell you, even in my corporate journey, I'm very outspoken, and I had many reviews where I was like top performer, and then opportunity for improvement was you need to be a little bit more diplomatic, politically correct, because I would just say what I thought.
Direct, right?
If something needed to be changed, I would speak up. And I would say, even though that I think got on some people's nerves, I don't think it got people to respect me because I was willing to speak up.
And when you were a role model for others, for other women who might be quiet about it, you have to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
It really is an obligation.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to grow. But I also think this is a fantastic opportunity to lead others by example, not just talk, right? Because it's easy to talk. It's, and a lot of people are great talkers. There are not so many people who take the action to actually step outside of the comfort zone and question the status quo. Just because this has been done like this for however many years, it does not make it right. And if you see that it's not right, so let's change it.
That's right. And until you exercise that muscle, it's scary. But the more you exercise that muscle, the easier it becomes to stand up for yourself and for others.
Yeah. Let's talk about something else that you talked into the beginning, Paula. And that was when you said that something that you enjoy about your job and who you are is that you see the light in others, which I think I feel the same way. I'm very privileged to see the light in others before they are even aware that they have a light.
Right.
And let's light it up.
Right.
Talk about that. And how is that important? Because a lot of times I think even conditioning is, I want to get to the next level for me. I want to get promoted. I want this. I want that, right? And how does it become, again, I'm going to grow for the greater good. I'm going to grow so that I can serve from a cup full, so I can, help others around me. Can you talk a little bit about that from a leadership perspective?
Sure. I think what's interesting to me in working with students at Rasmussen and in other universities and through my life and with employees is that sometimes, I think most of the time, people need others to believe in them. They need someone to believe in them and to help them see themselves the way I see them. So you're looking for the potential, and then you're reflecting that potential back at them, and then they start to believe themselves that they can do it. Everybody needs somebody who believes in them to get started, particularly someone who has been an underdog, or maybe has not had access to education, or is struggling in a new position. they need to know that there are people around them that believe in them and are willing to invest in them and move them forward, right? I also think, in having been a leader in higher education and in business for a long time, one of the things that you want to do is to build a strong workforce. And that strong workforce happens when you actually find potential, believe in it, help develop it, when you know what their dreams and aspirations are, and you're as committed to helping them reach those dreams and aspirations as you are yourself and for your organization. It's just kind of magic when you really have that energy out there for them, and it gets reflected back. And then when they do it, oh my goodness, what a great reinforcer of being sure that you're there helping people along. Because when you see students walk across that Rasmussen stage that never thought they were going to get a degree, and there they are getting a degree, or some young person who didn't think they were ever going to make it to director, getting to be a director, there's nothing more satisfying than that. And nothing more, people talk about legacy. Legacy is about the people that you have developed and what they go on to do. And so it's a very motivating thing.
I am 100% with you. And something that comes to mind is when I graduated high school, I got a gift from my dad's boss. And one of the statements in there, which it just stuck to me back then, like many years ago, 20 years ago, and it's still very alive today, is leave the world a little bit richer than you found it. And I think that is such a profound statement speaking about legacy. And I'll tell you, just today, I had a client and she was tapping into some muscles and I was like, yes. Out of the position, she looked at me, she goes, you're torturing me and I'm burning up. And I said, you want those muscles?
Good for you.
Yeah, I was like so excited. I mean, sounds so silly, but I work with a lot of people who have physical problems, pains, right? And then think, I'm never going to get out of here. There's a lot that plays into the psychology is what you're talking about, right? You need to have that one person who says, yes, you can go past this. Yes, it will be uncomfortable, but yes, you can do it.
That's right.
And then, like you said, having that other person give you like okay, let's go. And then when you start, they get promoted, they walk on that graduation stage. It's woo. It's
right. We all need that encouragement, right?
Yeah. And we all need it, no matter what stage of your life, no matter how much you have grown through the leadership ranks.
Very much.
Months, right? We all crave that support and love. And we do know we need that when we grow, because there's a lot of discomfort in growth.
That's right. There's a lot, there are a lot of tears. I think sometimes young women in particular will say, Paula, you've gotten to this stage and wow, isn't it really, they think that there weren't the times where you went home and cried. There are still times when you go home and cry. That's not a weakness. By the way, I always find women cry when they're angry, not when they're weak. So be careful when you see some tears. But you have to be able to have the determination to just regroup and come back again. That's always easier if there are people around you who believe in you. And so if we can give that to our students who might not have that, we do that. If we can give that to our employees, our friends, it's a real gift.
Hey Rebels, I want to take a quick moment to share something super exciting with you. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or just know there is more to life than what you're experiencing, I have something special for you. I have created a powerful 6-step video series called Unleash Your Potential, an introduction to the Angelova Method. As a valued Mind-Body podcast listener, the series is my gift to you. In this series, I will guide you through the core elements of the Angelova Method, a unique approach that integrates movement, mindset, and mastery to help you align your body, mind, and life. You will learn practical techniques to improve your alignment, boost your core strength, and connect deeply to your inner self. Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, gain mental clarity, or simply live more fully, these videos are designed to get you started on the path to your most vibrant self. And the best part? It's completely free. So if you're ready to break through barriers and unleash your full potential, head over to mindbodyexpert.com and get started today. Let's take this journey together, because you, my rebel, deserve nothing less than the extraordinary.
Yeah.
And that's what I call the power of the tribe, having friends around you, right? Having a community, not necessarily friends, but community,
Right.
teacher, faculty, right? Who say,
Right.
okay, I get it. It sucks. I get it. It's hard. I get it. It's challenging, but let's go. You can do this.
Right.
It's such an important part of growth.
It is.
Because we need the support, we need the cheerleaders. And you know what? We need somebody when we cry to be like, okay, like a friend of mine makes fun of me because I'm like, I'll be that shoulder you cry on. And then I'll be like, okay, that's enough. Let's go.
That's enough. Let's go on.
Right? That's enough of a self-pity party. I'll be there for the ice
Yeah,
cream.
only for a few minutes. It's okay. And then
Let's move past that. That's enough.
That's right. Exactly.
So, Paula, tell us a little bit on, I'm sure on your way to leadership, you have had an obstacle or two. Tell us what has taken you through that. I know you already talked about tenacity. You already talked about support system. What else do you tell to really anybody who is facing challenges? And, it doesn't have to be professional growth. It could be personal growth.
Right.
What kind of advice do you give to them to encourage them to shine their light?
Yeah, I think, first of all, you have to be able to pause and know what your goals are. I think if you can articulate, let me back up even more. What are your values, right? What drives you? What is your center, right? What center makes you centered when the world around you is crazy? So, I think it's really important to have those values and to be able to articulate those values, because that's what's going to keep you sane when everybody else is telling you some other different story. You have to have your own values. Those values have to lead you to establishing goals for yourself. What does it look like in the future? I will tell you that every promotion I've ever gotten, I envisioned having, and I expressed that I wanted them, so that the journey was clear, and folks around me that had the authority to give me that knew I was interested. So I found that to be very, very helpful. And then you kind of keep down that path that you envisioned for yourself. Can you see yourself at that next level? And what will it look like, and what will it feel like? I think that's a really important piece of it. The other things that happen is you have to really, I think, do your homework. You can't just want it to happen or think it's not fair if it doesn't happen. You have to be willing to take up the gauntlet and say, I'm going to do the work it takes to be successful. I'm not going to just expect it to come to me. I'm not really good around victim kind of belief, to be honest with you. I think that people have to accept responsibility for themselves. And so you pick up the gauntlet and you do your homework and you make sure you have the facts. And then I will have to say, you have to perform. And it may not sound fair, but for me, at least, coming through at a time when I was the only woman in the boardroom where, I was saying, paid less, not having the right support, really being on the peripheral. I was invited, but I didn't belong, right? It was a totally, different kind of situation, you have to be able to persist through that and bring a confidence to what's happening, so that you can get ahead. And the way you get that confidence is to outperform, right? I mean, it may not be fair, but in those situations, my bosses were looking at me and they were looking at the guys and they were saying, well, the guys come with all this potential. I don't know about her. The way I silenced that was to outperform every quarter compared to my competitors or my colleagues, whichever way you want to look at it. And then that gave me a platform from which to have my voice heard. It would be nice if it was heard automatically, but sometimes you have to be willing to earn having your voice be heard at the table the way you want it to be heard.
I really like what you're saying, Paula, because I will tell you, the one thing is I go to these, especially women's conferences. They talk about how women are paid less, how women are victim of the circumstances. And I'm like, okay, I get it. However, what does it take to change this? Going to conferences, right, talking about that and accepting that you're a victim of an industry or whatever is not going to change a thing. The only thing that is going to change is you speaking up and saying, yes, I do want that promotion. Yes, what does it take for me? And then also showing up, right? Not just saying, I want it and staying in the corner, but also putting up what you need to do.
Right.
So I completely agree with the personal responsibility, the need for action outside your comfort zone, because yes, a lot of times it is not comfortable to step out and be the only woman who says that. But that is the only way we can change things up.
And you know, sometimes women are their own worst enemies, because what I have observed over many years, you know, I retired and then came back to work, because so that's a little rebellious too. Everybody's telling you you're supposed to retire at this stage, and you kind of come back. There was just a lot of great work to do at Rasmussen, so I was happy to do that. But what I've noticed with women through the years, being a leader of that, you know, I've had the opportunity to lead thousands of people, really, is that women sometimes, most of the time, feel like they have to be perfect before they can move ahead, right? I don't really see that with the men that reported to me. They wanted me to evaluate them on potential, not on their perfection. So I think women need to do that, and they need to make sure that if you're sitting on the edge, you find a way to get inside, because a lot of times people think they've checked off the box by including you, but inclusion really means you've got to be able to be sitting at that table. So you've got to be willing to do that work that's going to get you there. And it's oftentimes very uncomfortable, but when you do it, you can also be in a position to change policy. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in a position to change policy. And look, I did it within my organization. I talked about being an advocate. I don't have big causes. I don't have a big community thing that I'm doing. But I really feel like I was a member of all the women in my generation who were doing that one at a time. Everybody in their own organization, finding a way to get their voice heard, and then to be at the table where policy could be changed so that the next group coming through could have that. It was an army of people. We were doing it as individuals. We were doing it by ourselves many times. But, you know, I'm proud of the generation that I was part of that actually persevered all the way through and did that.
And you know what, Paula, you know what I say with the work I say I am changing the world one person at a time. Because you know what, we sometimes undervalue the influence that one person can have, right? It's like a constant pay forward. I pass it to one, passes to another.
Ripple effect,
right? It's the ripple effect. So just because it is one person does not mean that it is not meaningful. And going back to the comment on perfectionism, completely agree with you. I think that's mindset. And you brought it up in the beginning. It's how we're conditioned, right? I have to be perfect to belong in that room. It's like, and I have seen it through the years, when it gets to applying for a job, a woman is like, I got it. Oh, that last one on the bottom, I don't have it, so I'm not gonna apply.
I'm not gonna raise my hand.
Yeah, and the guy's like, I don't have it. Oh, I have that one on the bottom. I will apply and get it, right? But that is the mindset, and that is conditioning, and you're right. That is something for us to be aware of, and again, something to take action against. And it's scary because it's unconventional yet.
That's true.
Yes. So Paula, tell us, aside from support, what are the students? A lot of students come to Rasmussen University for secondary education. What else? How else do you guys stand out? And what is different about Rasmussen University from other universities?
Yeah, Rasmussen's been around for about 125 years. And what I'm really proud of about the institution is it started as a career-oriented organization with an access mission. So really, the first women through the program, first people through the program were women, and it was bringing them into business. And this was in 1900. Mm-hmm. So it's always been about what are the in-demand careers in our community, and how do we get people who might not otherwise have been able to go through a program and get a degree and then go back and serve the community? How do we serve that? So this is something that I think is really unique to us. We have this long history of this. So in years past, it was women getting into business. Today, we know that our nursing and healthcare areas, we just have such a demand. And we have a demand from communities that speak different languages, that have different cultures. And so at Rasmussen, we're really trying to make sure that we're bringing in first-generation students, people who are new to our country as immigrants. They're going to serve that community. Now, they come to us as working adults, and this is really hard. They have children, they have parents they're taking care of, and they're working full time. So I think the other distinction is that everything is kind of worked around to help that working adult. It isn't about the traditional student, it's all about them. And that means flexibility. And it means, having fantastic faculty that are practical. Our adults want to know. They're talking to people who come from industry, not from just someone who is pontificating. So I think that practical experience is really important. And then you have to surround them with believers who know that even though what they're doing is going to be very, very hard, it's going to make a difference to them. It makes a difference to their family. And in our case, it's making a difference to the community. So again, your ripple effect that you were talking about earlier.
Love it. Paula, where can people find information about the university, connect with you if they have questions, if they want to follow up? What's the best way to get in touch?
I think the best way to get in touch is just go to our website, and it's rasmussen.edu, and they can find us there. And I think there's a lot of there, depending on what they want, they can find the names of people to get to and the departments to get to, and we'd be happy to talk to all of them.
Fantastic. All right, Paula, I cannot let you get off the mic without asking you, what is your definition of rebellious?
What is my definition about? It's about taking on those things that everyone tells you can't be done, and just rising up for that. It's about having courage when there's lots of naysayers and voices coming at you. And it's about being determined so that you persist right to the end so that you accomplish your goals and you're at that finish line making a difference for everybody else.
I love it. High five, Paula.
High five.
Totally love it. Love it. Well, Paula, I am so grateful for your time, for your inspiration, and for the great vibes. What fantastic energy that you carry. Thank you for being here with us. Rebels, you know the drill. Share, like, let us know if you have any questions for Paula. And of course, do not forget to stay rebellious. Thank you so much for your time, Paula. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us on the Mind Body Podcast, where we explore the power of living authentically and rebelliously. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebellious soul who would love to hear what we share as much as you do. Stay strong, stay calm, and most importantly, stay rebellious. Until next time, rebellious souls, keep living fully. Your journey is just beginning.